gentlemen, it is time for Talking Bollocks. With me, your host, yes, that's right, ego in a husk, in a body, just basically an ego. It's me, Howard H. Smith. Welcome to Talking Bollocks. Yeah! Hooray! Talking Bollocks is upon us. It is now time for me to talk the bollocks of July 2019. Thank you very much. This is the intro. My name is Howard Smith. Howard H. Smith. I am lead singer in UK thrash band Acid Rain. New album coming out on 27th of September called The Age of Entitlement. More on that later. I'm also a stand-up comedian. You can get me at... I perform a character, so it's keithplatt.co.uk. Does anybody go to websites anymore? And also Acid Rain is everywhere on social media, as you'd expect, also at acidrain.co.uk. Nobody's going to go to that website very soon because I'm taking it down because nobody goes to websites anymore. And that's about it, folks. I do a lot, I get around, but mainly once a month I do this podcast for you, and I also do it especially for patrons. So if you want to support the podcast, and when I say support, I mean get a fucking shitload of awesome content that's just for you. For instance, the Patreon podcast this month is coming up to about an hour and a half. And I think the interview with Andy Sneap on the Patreon is only a few minutes shorter than on the main podcast, where everybody has got to ask him questions, do their own. If it sounds like something you'd like to get involved with and get all the behind the scenes Acid Rain shenanigans as well, then go to patreon.com/Howard H. Smith and bung me $5 a month. Not even real money. $5 a month. Plus tax, it works out about £4.50 all in, and you get a load of stuff that no one else gets. I think that sounds like a pretty cool deal. The people doing it seem to think it's a pretty cool deal, so there you go. Anyway, this is the way we start every podcast. What has been going on in the world of metal this month? Well, I'll tell you, quite a lot. Quite a lot indeed. And just to start out, actually, by a moan about DPD. No, not Five Finger Death Punch. Just DPD, the fucking courier company. Jesus Christ. I've totally rejigged my day a couple of days ago around getting delivery of test pressing for the new Acid Rain album today. And they sent me a message saying, "Oh, we'll deliver it tomorrow, just like you asked." Whilst I was sat here waiting for it to arrive in my 1 hour window, I then went online and it went, "Oh, we weren't able to deliver it, so we'll try and deliver it tomorrow." Oh, do you mean don't know how to deliver? I was right fucking here. Were you fucking joking? So anyway, the label have gone to war with them. I've actually got to go and pick it up off them, but who gives a fuck at the end of the day as long as I get a copy of it. That's all that matters. Get it listened to, get it approved, ASA fucking P. But let's get on to other bands. I'll come back to Acid Rain in a bit, as I always do. But, okay. Straight up, first up, it's got to be Manowar. Hasn't it, eh? Manowar. Born to be shit forevermore. Just they've decided after the Hellfest debacle, they've decided to... they've obviously decided to go all out and try and see if they can rustle up a court case against Hellfest and tidy up their image somewhat after the catastrophe. Sorry, got a message there about something, had to reply, slight glitch there, never mind. This is what I do if this is the first time you listen to it. Yeah, I ain't fucking editing it. I do, because sometimes I say stuff I have to take out, which I had to do on one of the interviews that that I did on this very podcast. But anyway, going back to fucking Scammer War and their pathetic attempt to try and improve their PR. The thing is, it just completely rings untrue when you read what they're saying. Also, it's written like a really annoyed 5-year-old did it or something. It's just unbelievable. It really is. And I don't know who advises. I don't know who advises them, but Anyway, here we go. This is what Manowar was saying. We signed a contract in blood in 1983, and the reason I signed that contract is I wanted the world to know Manowar was the one band that will never fuck our fans and never play shit music or make the fans eat shit with bad sound, bad lights, and without our equipment, he said. There's so much to have a go at there. I'm going to move on. That's the fucking reality. Does this sound like someone who has a grip in reality? No, frankly, mate. I didn't see any of these fucking promoters sign a contract in blood. They didn't. They weren't there. Only you were that stupid. But they're happy to talk shit about people. Actually, about you. We're not going to give our fans less than 100%. You gave them 0%. Fact. Actually, I think you'll find fact is you gave them 0%. And let's just go back. I hate the phrase. Let's unpack a few things there. First off, your contract in blood is pathetic. Shove it up your arse, you child. Right? Next up. One of the we'll never fuck our fans. Well, I'm sure that has happened actually, quite literally. But the best one is never play shit music. I mean, it all fell apart right there, mate. Your contract in blood is worthless. Hey, you've been doing nothing but play shit music ever since. But the great thing is, does this sound like someone who has a grip on reality? What? The man talking about signing a contract in blood in 1983? Frankly, no, mate. You're asking? No. It does not sound like somebody who has a grip on reality, now you mention it. In fact, that was screaming someone who doesn't have a grip on reality right from the first fucking words that you spoke. And also, I've got to thank, and I'm not sure on which outlet of social media that it was, but I think it might have been Twitter or it might have been Facebook. Well, I don't think it's Facebook because I can't find the thing I'm looking for. But it was a guy, I'm sorry dude, I can't remember your name, but it was, I tweeted that out and somebody just tweeted back and went, what an absolute load of bollocks. I was there in the 90s when they came to Newcastle Riverside, took one look around it, didn't like the look of it, got back in their bus and tried to fuck off, but plenty of us fans were there giving them fucking dog's abuse for it. So, you know, there's history here with these fucking prima donnas, and I mean that's just a section that I've taken out of his so-called banned statement. I mean, it was just fucking absolutely ridiculous. It literally like a 5-year-old had written it. And there's so much wrong with it that it's hard to, I didn't really want to bore you guys with the whole story and like the whole thing, so I just took that bit out. But fucking hell, give it a rest, man. You fucked up. You totally, completely fucked up. Just own it. Say, yeah, you know, we were dicks. But no, that's never going to be Manowar. True story, right? True story. Somebody who works for a label. Did I do this on the podcast last month? I think I might have done. But anyway, yeah, I did, didn't I? Yes, because other people have referred to it. Sorry, yeah, about to do the old, you know, they wanted to be picked up in a horse-drawn carriage at Heathrow Airport. And they were serious. What a bunch of absolute cockwombles. Let's move on to another bunch of idiots. Yes, I said it, idiots. And who are these idiots? BabyMetal. That's who. BabyMetal said in a statement, "We're excited to announce BabyMetal's third album, Metal Galaxy. The album's main theme is that BabyMetal are on an odyssey to the metal galaxy, and a different variety of songs are packed within the album. We are on an odyssey to the metal galaxy. Welcome to the world of BabyMetal." Now, frankly, that doesn't sound like it was written by somebody with a grip on fucking reality either. I mean, if Ross the Boss's fucking, or Joey DeMayo's thing, I can't actually remember which one of those dicks did that. If theirs sounded like somebody who doesn't have a grip on reality, then what does this sound like? The album's main theme is that BabyMetal are on an odyssey to the metal galaxy, and a different variety of songs are packed within the album. We are on an odyssey to the metal galaxy. Welcome to the world of BabyMetal. It's fucking shit is what it is. That's as shit as their fucking music. Oh, God, they wind me up. They really fucking do. And I'm sick of the BabyMetal apologists as well. Oh, but they're actually a pretty good band. If they are actually a pretty good band, it's an accident. And the reason for that, or rather the thanks for that, should go to the musicians in there who have all sold out to become part of this Japanese corporate machine that was invented to separate young girls from their pocket money. That's all it is. Put together, I know I've done it before and I've said it before, but I've got to reiterate. They were put together by a corporation to try and get kids to buy their album and they wanted the cool fucking kids who are already into metal, right? Already into them. So they just wanted to get a piece of that money. They wanted to get a piece of that revenue, the metal kids. That's why BabyMetal exists. Simple as that. So for me, it is without any artistic merit. I have an absolute fucking not interested in anything to do with BabyMetal whatsoever. Instead, what I do like to do is give them free publicity on my podcast. So basically, why don't I just shut the fuck up? Next up is a chap that I would not have expected to have. I certainly wouldn't be expected to be raving about something he said, but has to be said. This actual quote, which I love. Tim Ripper Owens. It might be better to watch a hologram of Kiss right now than watch the actual band. So fair enough, he stood up for the hologram a number of times before, and, everyone's entitled to their opinion. But I thought that was fucking awesome, and an absolutely savage criticism of Kiss. And that's really all that needs to be said. Let's move on. Seb Back is still trying to get... Yeah, it's still a no, Seb. They're still not interested. I am still winning my bet with Godless. It's not going to happen. You're not getting back together. Simple as that. Now, this is just... I don't know where this sits in the realm of pathetic, but it's pathetic. Right? Geezer Butler and Tony Iommi picked up a Sabbath Lifetime Achievement Award from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or something like that, and it's the Hard Rock Cafe or something like that, right? Ozzy was not allowed to join them. Yeah, this is the fucking headline. Ozzy not allowed to join Sabbath Lifetime Achievement Award by Sharon, okay, who objected to the fact that it wasn't being done on the broadcast. It was being done in a part of the show that wasn't televised, and she thought that was disrespectful, so she stopped Ozzy going. I mean, does that sound like the behaviour of a manager, a wife, or a mother, or a huge fucking pain in the arse? I mean, yeah, you might find it disrespectful and all the rest of it, Sharon, but surely it's still a lifetime achievement award, and if I'm Ozzy, I'm going to get the fucking award. I'd like my Lifetime Achievement Award, thanks. Preferably not in the post. What? I mean, what the fuck? That just strikes me as just fucking insane, basically. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really got any love for Sharon Osbourne, and for all of you who think that she's a wonderful fucking feminist hero. Yeah, what, with her fucking shit ton of plastic surgery to try and keep her looks? That's not very feminist, is it? Or basically getting handed a career by her dad, and then at the time of his death, still not speaking to him. Not very impressive. Not very impressive behaviour at all. But I've had a go before. I'm sure I'll have a go again in the future. But whatever. I am effectively a fucking mouse throwing toothpicks at a rhinoceros. The rhinoceros that is Sharon Osbourne. I wonder if I can say enough offensive things right now to actually get sued. To be fair, I could do with the publicity. Actually, with the album coming out as well. Fucking hell, that would be awesome. Sharon, sue me. But everybody retweet links and things and just, tell her I'm being horrendous. Thank you, if you get around to it. Obviously, if you don't, no thank you. What did I see recently? Oh, yeah, news. Ghost have released a provocative new video. Well, because visually they are provocative. It's just musically the fucking derivative beyond fucking belief. Completely mediacore, doing nothing new, and just basically lame ass copy of 70s rock bullshit. I mean, it's just nothing. It's of no artistic merit, really, at all. For me, it really isn't. You know, the whole point is you get a band and your influences, you become the sum of your influences. That's what you want to sound like. You want to sound like the sum of your influences. Yeah? Note, Metallica don't sound like Diamond Head. They sound like a sum of their influences. And that's why I wasn't keen on Hardwired, because I felt like there was times where you could just clearly hear their influences, which is not them at all. When you get into a band, you don't want to clearly hear the main band or a main bunch of bands who've influenced them. Funnily enough, I was asked recently about like new wave of thrash bands, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. I mean, Body Blitz from... Oh, let's not get into the getting people's names wrong shit again. I am not fucking doing that as much as you might want me to, right? When I was talking to Bobby and he was saying, nobody's really moved it on, and that's exactly the point. Nobody's picked the flag up and run with it yet, and that I completely agree. And my point was that thrash fucking packed up in the late 80s, early 90s because basically it stopped being created. It stopped expanding. Creatively, it had become very dull and very predictable. And we can't go down that route again. So with new wave thrash bands coming through, I want the new wave of thrash bands coming through to take things on, because if we just keep churning the same stuff, same thing's going to happen. The genre will burn out again. As unlikely as that might seem now, fuck me, it didn't seem like that when we were in the heyday, did we? But it's possible. And what prevents that is bands taking things forward, picking it up and running with it. Just having pictures on the back of your album in skinny jeans, white high tops, and brand new ironed Creator t-shirts, and looking like you've been fucking transported out the 80s. That's not taking anything forward. That's not going to keep us around. That's not going to move things forward. And moving forward is what you consistently have to do. Because every other genre is, you have to keep moving forward. If you stay in one place, you stand still, you go backwards, and the same thing happens that happened last time. I'm in danger of making some really solid, serious points here. Fuck that. Let's get on with an interview. Okay, so, got a chance to catch up with me old mate, Andy Sneap, and talk Judas Priest and living the metal dream. Here's me and Andy having a chat a few weeks ago. Hey!
Hey, there we go.
All right, mate.
All right, how you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, fine. Yeah.
Good. Well, look. First up, thank you very much for agreeing to still speak to one of the citizens now that you're heavy metal royalty.
Yeah, just remember that.
Yeah. It's very good of you to mix with us.
Yeah.
Actually, do you know what? I'm going to put my phone that way up. See if that works better.
It's like recording the Friday Rock show, isn't it?
Fucking yeah, anything but.
You know, you can actually in Skype. You can actually record it in Skype.
Yeah, but it sounds terrible.
Does it?
Yeah.
Avoid legal snakes by telling people that you're being recorded. Okay, I've got to tell you that.
Oh, that's a cat that you're telling, is it?
Yeah, and now how does that sound now? Is that any better?
It does actually sound a bit better, yeah.
All right, we'll see how we get away with it. Okay.
Cool. Right, fucking hell. We're all sorted.
Yeah.
I should have known better. You and audio technology. Obviously, you were going to want to get involved right from the off. Fucking hell, mate. Don't be a cunt. Have a day off.
Yeah.
So, I tell you what, just diving straight into it, I remember, God knows how long ago it was now, I'm sure you'll tell me, when the news first came out that you were going to do the Priest gig, and I WhatsApped you, and you WhatsApped me straight back, and we ended up just trading messages for about half an hour, of just exactly how fucking amazed, freaked out, happy, excited, terrified you were all in one.
I'd say terrified was the top of the list. I mean, it's bittersweet, really. You know, obviously, with the situation with Glenn, it was, you know, you don't want to see someone, because I'm friends with all of them, and obviously I'd worked with Glenn all year on the album. I knew the situation. I knew what was going down, and we all wanted Glenn to do it, because obviously it's Glenn, but it was nice of him to ask me, but it did sort of knock me sideways when it all happened, and it was kind of my head was spinning there for a good few weeks, and especially with the amount of stuff I had to learn so quickly. It was, it was right in at the deep end, really. So, yeah, it was it was exciting, but absolutely terrifying at the same time. That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah. I presume there's the initial sort of, oh my God, all my dreams have just come true, and then reality sets in and you go, shit, I've got a ton of work to do.
Well, yeah, they asked me the second to last day of rehearsal in the UK, which was 3 weeks before the tour started. And I sort of sat there and went, yeah, okay, I'll do it. And then the Friday morning, the day after, I woke up feeling physically sick. And then I knuckled down on learning as much as I could, and it really was a case of, learn what you can in this short space of time. I think I learned 25 songs in 3 weeks, not even 3 weeks actually, because I had to go to London to sort my visa and everything out. And then I had 3 days rehearsal with them in the US, which was basically 3 afternoons, just to run through the set 3 times. And then the first show in front of 6,000 people. So it was, you had all your internet people going, oh, he's not moving around much, so no.
come later on the tour.
Remember what to play.
Yeah, come later on the tour when I actually know these fucking songs.
Yeah. And people go to you, oh, well, you know the songs. It's like, actually, yeah, I know the songs, but I don't know the songs. You still got to learn them. So it was, it was, and it's the thing as well. Obviously I've been playing, and I've been playing all this time, in the studio and stuff, but that's a different thing being match fit to getting on stage and playing as well, and getting strength in your hands, and, playing with different musicians. Scott's a different drummer to what I'm used to. He's very much on the backbeat rather than, a thrash drummer that's really pushing it. So just trying to get the feel right and lock in with different people. There's so many different things to consider that you don't think about, where to be on stage and when to drop back and when to go out to the sides, especially on these bigger stages, you want to keep it all looking symmetrical. So it wasn't a case of just learning the songs, it was a case of taking it all in, working with different crew, different gear and all kinds of things. So it's a big learning curve doing something like this.
Well, to a certain extent, certainly for somebody of inverted commas our level, we've been doing shit for years, and I can only imagine what it must be like to suddenly be playing that scale. Just that first show to 6,000 people. I say just 6,000. I'd kill to play to fucking 6,000. I'd kill to play at 600. Who's kidding? I can think in my mind the upscaling of what you're used to something of that size is just like, it's a whole new ball game, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I've done plenty of festivals and sort of bigger shows before, but not to this sort of extent. It's sort of, the 6,000 gigs now are old hat now, but at first it's a lot to take in, and projecting yourself to the back of the hall, and you end up watching everything back and thinking, right, that doesn't look cool, that's fine, that right, that bit looks good there. You have to sort of analyze what you're doing and be your own worst critic, really, and and that's what I kind of did for the first 10 or 15 shows. I was, I had the GoPros up and I was filming everything, trying to watch what it was looking like, and just taking it all on board, really, and just slowly trying to get my feet under the table and fit in. And it's, whoever came into, this situation, I don't care if it's some hotshot LA guy they got to get it, to do the job. I think any musician coming into a band that's been established for 40 odd years, it's going to take a little while for anyone to settle in. So, I think we got there in the end. But at first it was sort of a bit, this is a bit, this needs to change, and maybe we have to do this here, So it was a learning curve for sure,
Well, and also, I mean, you've only got to look over the other side of the stage for what looks cool and what doesn't, because basically, you're up against a master showman.
Yeah.
Because he is. Sorry, mate.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember watching you set at Bloodstock, and I was. To be honest, mate, I just had I genuinely, and this is going to sound all soft, so I apologise, but I genuinely, my face hurt after the end of your set because I'd just been smiling all the way through it because I was just so pleased for you.
Well, good, thank you. I mean, it is a dream playing with these guys because it is, it's at that level that I never thought I'd be up there playing at this stage of my life. I mean, I'd kind of given up on it. So to get the chance to do it and play these sort of arenas and festivals and, headline these festivals, with Priest, it's a dream come true, isn't it? So, I mean, I can't really say anything more than that.
No,
really.
I know. I mean, it's... the thing is, it's funny because I know a lot. We know a lot of the same people, and just bumping into people who and you'd come into the conversation, and everybody would just be like, "Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it? It's brilliant. It's great. It's like it felt like it was one of us up there." But again, like you say, really daunting. Did you see it coming at all? Did you have an inkling, or was it completely out?
No, well, it was. I mean, we kind of knew that something might have to happen when we're doing the album, but no one's going to say anything to Glenn because Glenn's the boss really, and it was always down to Glenn to pull the trigger and sort of say, I can't do it. No one was going to say, Glenn, we need to get someone in. It was always because of the situation. It was always Glenn's shout, and so I was just sort of helping out. I went down to rehearsals. I got some production gear for them. I got a laptop for intros and things like that. I was just helping them out with some sort of intro stuff and some back-end stuff for a couple of the songs, some keyboard stuff. And I'd seen Glenn at rehearsals, and I could tell he was pondering on what to do. And he said to me, when you're next coming down, I said, well, it's going to be sort of Thursday, Friday at the end of the week. So I got an interface for the computer and stuff they were using. So he was sort of, I think he maybe had a word with the guys before I got there, but they had a sort of a meeting on the Thursday when I got down there, and they just called me in and said, do you think you can do it? And I was like, well, yeah, I probably can. I'll give it my best shot, and Richie, thank God, was like, just learn the basics for the moment. I've got, he'd got a lot of the solo stuff covered because of, he's kind of working around what Glenn was able to do. So it was kind of, learn the riffs first, and then we'll slowly fit bits in. And that's kind of the approach we took to it, really. And I was literally waiting curbside at Heathrow for my passport with my visa before I flew out to, I think I went to Washington and then Connecticut for rehearsals. I went that route because it had been such a late stage getting everything sorted out. So it really was up to the wire, and can we turn this round in time? So it really, it was certainly was a test on everyone's, everyone's side with the organisation and everything. So
so you could have worked your nuts off and everything, and just the basic logistics were proving a pain in the ass. Just getting all the visas and everything through in time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I literally, 2 hours before my flight, I didn't have a passport.
Shit.
So I was waiting there for a taxi to deliver my passport with my visa in it. So Yeah, it was, and we actually had to cancel. I think, postpone 2 flights. One was because of the weather, and one was because the visa wasn't in time. So, yeah, I mean, it really was last minute. You know, I was meant to have 10 days rehearsal in the States, and we only had 3. You know, that sort of thing. So,
shit.
Yeah, it was nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I know. Well, of course, I bumped into you at Bloodstock, and by the time it was weird because by the time I caught up with you in Bloodstock, you'd already played a few 120,000 stadiums and all that, and it's like, you know, oh yeah, Bloodstock, yeah, it's a nice kind of like nice little size festival that.
I know it. Well, it is, yeah, and actually the way it's set out as well, it actually doesn't look, you know, when you look off the stage at Bloodstock, it doesn't look like that many people because it's quite a wide arena rather than deep.
Yes.
You know, when you're not looking miles and miles and miles into the horizon. I mean, what we had on that run, I don't think we had it at Bloodstock, but we had a kabuki drop, which is the curtain drop at the start of the set.
Yeah.
And a thing called a sniffer, which pulls the curtain back across the stage, and you know, so you haven't got a row of guys along the front of the stage carrying the curtain off. It disappears really quickly.
Yeah.
And some of these festivals, we don't get in until, you know, sort of 7:30, 8 o'clock. And we don't actually see the arena or the hall or the festival until we're actually on stage because we don't sound check. So we'll literally be stood behind that curtain, and the first time we see the crowd or the size of the gig is when the curtain drops on the first chord. So
right.
I think it was Grass Pop in Belgium. The curtain went down. There were 60,000 people out there. And it was like, yeah, it's a big one tonight. Yeah, I've got a bit of room to cover up here tonight. Yeah, all right, I'm going for a walk. I'll see you later.
Awesome. Oh, so fucking hell.
Yeah, a lot of the time it's as much of a shock to us as it is to the crowd as well. So, yeah, it's fun. You know, it is fun.
That must be an incredible moment, mate. That.
Yeah, I mean.
You know, it's like you've got, and you know, you've got to be able to play guitar and take it in.
I know. Yeah, it's certainly. Yeah, I'm usually the first song, at least. I mean, Scott will tell you I'm probably pushing all of it, but the first song there's so much adrenaline that it's you know, it's having to hold everyone back. So yeah, I mean it is a buzz. It's a real buzz, actually. Yeah, definitely.
Well, hell yeah! I mean, you know, in one of your favourite all-time bands, playing in front of thousands of people, you know, the boy done good. It's just a you know, poor lad from Nottingham who's done well for himself.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it like I say, you know, I mean, it'd be great if Glenn was up there doing it. You know, that's the thing that really. You know, it's always in the back of my mind. You know, it really is. But it's just nice that he asked me to do it. You know, so and I'll you know, as long as they want me to help out, I'll help them out. So you know, that's kind of the way I'm looking at it, really. So
how does the is there any more live dates, or is that it for now?
There's a rescheduled Aussie dates which is happening. Sort of February, March next year, which were meant to be happening in February, March this year. So we'll wait and see, you know, as far as I know, that's all happening. So, you know, they've asked me to do it. So, yeah, that's the next thing on the horizon with that. And then I'm just looking at work. You know, I'm meant to be mixing the Testament album. Well, I was meant to be mixing it now, but, you know, there's a couple of weeks sort of delay on that. So I'm going to be looking at that at the end of the month.
Right. Okay. So, well, I was actually going to start asking you about work. Has it just been straight back in, or have you taken some time to sort of decompress and you know, get the lay of the land again?
Yeah, I mean, I just did the Kill Switch mix before this last run, and we had a band for Earache, Those Damn Crows, that Colin was doing in the studio as well. So you know, the studio's been up and running a bit. But it is difficult. It's difficult going from, you know, playing and doing something that's taken me out of the studio for this amount of time to sort of get my head back into a day job, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but it's enjoyable, but it's a different approach, really. So I think it'll be good because I got to a point where I'd done the Priest record, I'd done the Accept record, and I'd done the Saxon record all in the same year. And I was feeling very sort of, what's the best way of putting it? Not burnt out, but just a little
jaded,
uninspired in a way. Yeah, you know what I mean. Just because it was all back to back, and you're not getting any breathing space or time to stand away from it.
Yeah.
So this coming up when it did was kind of a good opportunity just to recharge the batteries, really, and rather than just take time off, it kept me in the public eye and kept me out there, you know, in the world playing music. So it was ideal, really. So it's good, you know, if I can fit sort of a couple of albums in now before we do this Aussie run. It's a great chance just to get back into the studio now.
Well, hard luck, mate. You just missed out on mixing our album, but you know you can't have everything, can you?
No, never mind, eh? Next time.
No, never mind. Yeah, next time. Yeah. Oh shit! I'm going to be on tour. You don't know when it is yet. Yeah. I will be on tour. Well, was there a point when you were away? Was there ever a point where you were thinking, you know, about the day job, as it were, and thinking, look, I'm just thinking the human condition, because I know what it's like. If as much fun as you're doing, as fun as you're having, you know, creative people's brains never stop. So there's always like there's got to be a voice somewhere going, yeah, but you know, you're not going to be getting any producing work for a while, and you know, there's
you know what, it's no, I haven't thought that at all, really. I mean, my heart was always as a guitar player, if I'm brutally honest about it. I was always that was the number one dream for me, to be a guitar player, and then the production thing kind of followed when that, you know, with the Sabbath thing fell apart, and you know, I had to start do something to survive, and I kind of fell into the production thing, and I found I enjoyed it, and you know, and I kept on at it, and it became successful. So
yeah,
you know, it's not that feels like a day job. I mean, it's still a job that I enjoy doing, and you know, I enjoy being creative in the studio, but you know, actually going out there and playing guitar is what I'd always dreamt of doing. So to get the chance to do it on this scale has been brilliant. And I wouldn't, you know, I'd always put that first, to be honest. So
yes,
that, you know, as much, you know, if this lasts and if I've still got the chance to do it, I will do this before doing production work. So no, I mean, I'll always be able to fall back into production work, even if I have 6 months off. You know, the work will still pop up here and there, and it'll build up again. So I'm not too worried about
that. Yeah. And speaking of which, I mean, you know, look, I apologise, but I've got to mention these. Well, two questions. Well, no, one question. And it will be. There's going to be people who wanting to know, you know, if there's, and I know the answer. If there's ever going to be any more Sabbath shows, and you know, what your position is on that. No, basically. No, there's been a line sort of drawn in the sand on that, and with the health stuff as well. It's just, you know, it's for different reasons as well with both bands. I mean, the Sabbath thing won't happen really because we don't want to be in the same room as each other, and the health thing won't happen because sort of the creative juices weren't, to me anyway, weren't really. It wasn't flowing right, and what we were coming up with didn't feel like hell, and also I felt that I was having to push people into a situation that felt forced. You know, even as far as getting people to rehearsals and getting gigs arranged and stuff. So if people aren't 100% behind it and wanting to do it themselves. You know, and that's not a criticism of anything, but you know, people have all, you know, when we get to this age, you know, all in our 50s, you know, late 40s, 50s, everyone's got lives, you know, got families, they've got different agendas, and so that whole thing of like when we were 17, 18-year-old, but all out, you know, for the band, blah blah blah, it doesn't exist because everyone's got to, you know, put food on the table. So with something like Hell, it became increasingly more difficult because people have different priorities.
And the spark had gone down a little bit, if I'm honest. The fire wasn't there. We'd run out of the earlier material, so it was a case of writing new material, and to me, it didn't feel like it had the charm of what the first two albums had. So trying to get that and not have the fire there between everyone, I felt it was better just to sort of say, look, let's calm it down. I think it's time to put this to rest, really. So that actually all got put to rest before I was even doing the Priest thing. So if anyone's thinking it's the Priest thing that's got in the way, it hasn't at all. It was all, probably 5-6 months earlier, we'd sort of said to each other, we're going to stop this now. So, yeah.
Is there any particular reason why that information kind of isn't out there in the public? There was never a kind of like a big announcement or anything, or did you just not feel the need?
I didn't want to make a fuss of it, really. To be honest, I felt it had sort of fizzled out anyway. I didn't want any drama over it. It's one of those things where no one's fallen out or no one has really, it was kind of one of those things where why don't we just let it lie and see how it feels and just, leave it. There's no need to make a big hoo-ha and sort of go, right, that's it, it's over. To me, it was kind of like, well, it is what it is, and let's just leave it there, and then, pick it up 10 years later if you want to. It's that sort of thing. So,
yeah.
I didn't feel like there was any need to be dramatic about it or make any big statements about it, really.
Yeah, it's done, and that's it, and you moved on.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I think it was quite obvious by the amount of gigs we were doing, and which were basically like, I think 2 in the last year. It was obvious that there wasn't a lot happening on that front.
Yeah. Well, it was fun while it lasted, and that's like nothing lasts forever, and you move on and then end up joining Priest.
Yeah, well, the thing is as well. My whole point of doing the Hell thing was to get Dave's music out there, and we did it. We had the songs that he'd written. We took it a little bit further obviously with the stage show. We wrote a few new songs to make the second album complete. Really, that was my whole idea behind doing it, was to put his songs out there and give it a chance. And
right.
It did that, So for me, it felt quite complete anyway. I think Kev was wishing it was going to go further and what have you. But without everyone being sort of fighting the same, for the same team, really. It felt like, it really was a case of herding cats at times, trying to get people to rehearsals and trying to get people focused and, trying to organise gigs. So when it's like that and it's forced, I'm not going to be the one that's putting all the effort in trying to get things recorded or trying to get people to rehearsals. I've done that for 30 odd years. It gets to a point where it's kind of like, if I'm having to force this, it's not going to work. Everyone's got to want to do this off their own back. So,
you've all got to pull in the same direction, because as it is,
exactly, that's what I'm saying.
As it is, everything is. You're fighting against the odds all the time, and if you're not all fighting in the same direction, you're fucked before you've even started.
Exactly. Yeah, and you're always going as fast as the slowest, or the least dedicated person. Because that's always going to hold you back. So. And like I say, everyone's got different priorities and everyone's got different lives at this stage as well. So that's not knocking anyone, but if you're going to make a band successful, everyone's got to be 100% into it. And if it's not, then it's never going to happen. So I'm not going to put more of my time in, especially after when I look what I'd done on the first and second album. I'd really financed the whole thing and put all the time in the studio, recording and mixing, all obviously free of charge to the band because I was part of it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to go through all that again and write the songs.
Yeah.
Have someone go, I can't do a gig at that weekend because I can't get a babysitter or whatever. So it was like, you know what? I think it's time to stop.
Yeah. So right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like the full story, the completely unexcavated version. Awesome.
Yeah.
So have you got anything? Have you got anything in the pipeline, production wise, other than Testament? Like stuff that you're kind of like either in for or has been rumored that you're interested in, that you're looking forward to, or is
there's a couple. I mean, I'm chatting to Wolf about the next Accept record again. I was actually chatting to Miller about the Creator album as well. I don't know what they're deciding on as far as that, but there's a possibility there on that one. But I don't know if schedules are going to match up, so we're just waiting to sort of figure that one out. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's those couple of possibilities for the rest of the year after the Testament record.
Yeah, and then of course. So how long are you out? Is it just the UK dates that you've got remaining with Priest then?
No, we've got this sort of all Europe with Ozzy.
Oh, of course it is. Sorry,
that goes through until the end of March, and then they've got they're obviously looking at what they're going to do on the 50th anniversary thing after that. So
yeah,
who knows? I don't know what's happening there with that yet.
But fuck me, it'd be like your 50th week with the band.
It's more than that, mate.
yeah, no, I know. So yeah, how long is it then? How long?
Well, it's got to be. When was it? End of February, when the last year. So we've had 16, 17 months out on this run. So it's 100. I think it was 145 shows so far. We've done 143 because we cancelled one because Rob was sick, and one got wiped out by a tornado. So yeah, it's a fair few. Wow,
I mean, yeah, that's a Jesus Christ. That's just.
I mean, when you think this, we've done 3 runs through North America on this album, and still, the attendances were great on the third run. Even though we did change the setup, we had 15 different songs in the set by the time we did this since the first run. We did the first run in March last year, then we did the run with Deep Purple October, November, and then this last run, which has been 2 months, which we just got back from last weekend. And still, the ticket sales were great on the last run. So the band's really sort of hit the stride again, really. With a top 5 Billboard album in America with Firepower, and then, 3 tours on this album. It's pretty unheard of, really. So yeah, I think it's probably the most amount of gigs they've done in the US since. No, I don't know if it's since Defenders, but it's certainly since the Painkiller sort of era, it's the most they've done in the US. So
well, but the album was just, I mean, the reception was euphoric.
Mm.
I mean, I
think we just approached it right. Really, it was the songs were good, and it was a case of getting a bit of the attitude back in it as well. I think. It had been a bit lazy in the studio, at times with them, on the last few records, and it was a case of just cracking the whip a little bit and sort of saying, right, we'll try it a bit more old school again, try and get the band playing live again, and get some cool little twists and turns happening, and work on the songs as a band rather than sort of just one sort of idea, and make it feel like a band, in the studio, which to me is lacking in a lot of people's records now. I think it's getting that vibe of the musicians playing together is you don't hear it when you listen to those 80s records. You can tell it's a band in a studio.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got the multi-tracks to Screaming, and you can hear the bleed on each mic, and you can tell it's the band in the studio playing together. On the Killer Machine record, I've got the multi-tracks to that as well, and you can hear Spill all over the place, on the vocal mic. Some of the vocals on, I think it was on Bloodstone, the verse vocals went down live with the drums,
Fucking hell.
It's, there was a charm to it. That's why it was kept. I think another thing coming, Tom was telling me on that the take that you hear on the album, the guitars are the rough guide tracks. That he liked the feel of it so much that he just put an extra track down the middle, and that was it. So I think that's missing a bit these days. I think I keep saying it, I call it laptop metal. Everyone's someone will come into the studio with everything demoed to a grid, and right, this is what we're playing to, and it lacks that push and pull and the feel of a band playing together. And, it's like when we all started back in the 80s. You think about the hours and hours and hours of rehearsals that we all used to put in, and it made you a better player, and it made you a band, because even the limitations of each player created a certain colour to the sound and a certain, you worked around it, didn't you? So,
well, absolutely, yeah.
And I think that's lacking a little bit now, So.
Well, it's funny. I had a conversation with our drummer Mark, who was born in 1988, and he's obviously had to learn Ramsey's stuff, the old Acid Rain stuff, listening to some of the songs off Obnoxious. There's a couple of 9-minute songs and 7-minute songs on there and stuff like that, and we were talking the other day, and I was saying, you do realise that when you listen to that, it's one take. That is one drum take. Do you know what I mean? If we were recording it now, you'd probably break it down into 3 or 4 different parts. And say, like,
and there'd be like 3 or 4 different, or 5 or 6 different takes that you're editing together and put into a grid. So it really, it's a different world now when you think about it. I mean, when it was all on 2-inch tape and.
Yeah.
All the albums we did as Sabbath, it was all me, Fraser, and Simon putting the rhythms down together. And obviously on Dreamweaver there was Simon, the other guitarist, there as well. But it was all live. Those rhythms, it was all, the guitars, bass, and drums all went down live, and then it was just overdubs and vocals on top. And it might not sound as tight as or mechanical as you can get it now, but it had a certain feel and the feel of the band there, which I think, when you start really breaking things down, and I've been guilty of it plenty of times, getting things too tight, and it's kind of the way that metal went for a little while, this mechanical sort of, super tight slab of metal, wasn't it? Everyone was doing it, and I think we're all sort of pulling back from that a little bit now, sort of thinking, well, actually, we want to get a bit of attitude in there now. And that's really what we tried to do on the Freeze record, was just get a little bit of that back, really, and just a bit of push and pull. And then, we had the basic frames of the songs there when we went in the studio, and it was a case of jamming them, getting familiar with them, and getting really inside the riffs and thinking, right, well, we can take this, we can have a key change here, or we can have a sort of a little bit of a tempo drop on this part, or we can maybe have a break in the song here. And that's the sort of things you get when you get people in the room throwing ideas around, and it's something that's missing when you've got one guy writing everything at home and then coming into the studio with it.
Yeah. And like you say, it's also about the imperfections in those old classic records. When you're talking about like mic bleed and stuff like that, I mean, listen to some great old Maiden stuff, and there's Bruce is flat in places. But who the fuck cares?
Yeah. Well, it's like, there's a couple, I think there's a drum fill at the end of, which one is it? I think it's the end of the Sentinel or something like that. It sounds like Dave Allen falls off the drum stool when you solo it, but, it's like a bit of a pig scrape over that, no one will notice. It's that kind of thing. And it does. I mean, once I've done it on live records where you've got everything isolated. You're thinking, what the fuck is going on here? Are they even playing the same song? And then you put the faders up, and it all of a sudden it's the band. It's got that sort of blur to it, but it's got a charm as well. So it's very easy when you're tracking stuff and you're really focusing on the individual player to, try and get it super tight, and there's that temptation to cut and paste parts. But really, I think if you start doing that, your ears already heard it subliminally. You've heard it, and that's when it starts getting really boring. So just because something's played slightly different doesn't mean it's wrong,
Yes.
So I think it's important to remember that and try and keep a bit of character in there, really.
Yeah, and I think on that point, by the way, we've gone for exactly that, a more kind of organic thing, and I'll ping you a link when we're done. You'll have to have a listen if and when you can be bothered. But I think yeah, you also get a feeling with some albums that the mix for song, they nailed the mix on song 1, and you've got 9 more songs that have got the same mix, and that's it. Do you know what I mean? There's like idiosyncrasies of songs, and really producing a song in a specific way when it needs a specific vibe and all the rest of it. And sometimes I feel that you just get the standard mix for the entire album.
I think also the way we work now, you do get a more balanced mix across an album because obviously you can recall it and you keep coming back to, you don't have to mix one song then move on to the next and then on to the next. It's not like your mixers used to improve as you went along, and you'd always come back to the first song again and end up remixing that.
Yes.
You tend to go through, you do all the drums, come back, sort the guitars, come back, sort the bass, and you're looking at an album as an overall picture. So I think in some ways that's good because you do end up with a more balanced sort of sonic album. But I think it's also, it depends on the songwriting really as well, doesn't it? I mean, does a song that are bands writing as varied albums now? I don't think they are. A lot of them play it safe and they've got formulas that they work to. And you look at even, I don't know. I mean, Metallica did it well back in the day. They'd always have that sort of structure. They had to ride the lightning and master of puppets. It was a very, it went up and down the whole. It was a sort of a journey throughout the album, wasn't it?
Yes.
Where now, you'll get an album off a band and it will be quite one-dimensional a lot of the time. Double kicks all the way through. And I think. A little bit more variation and, I don't know, a few more risks are always nice to hear, aren't they? I mean, and that was a good thing with the Priest record where, obviously with the talent that's in the band and with Rob's voice, they can sort of venture onto different sort of landscapes musically and get some harder and softer stuff in there, some faster stuff. It gives you that chance to do it. So it was a good album to really sort of get your teeth into and get some of that going, really.
And you've just mentioned something. I mean, Rob is a freak of nature, isn't he?
He's a character. No, it's great. It's great. I mean, and he's, we've got this. There is other singers out there, but to me, it's almost his accent, his Brummie accent, adds something to the way he phrases the words, and it's in his timing as well. Is the master of sort of getting the words to a certain sort of snap. It's not just about his pitch; it's his delivery and timing. It's really, there's no one else like him for that sort of thing, and his ear for that sort of thing is great. So, yeah, I mean, it's brilliant to work with. We just kept pushing him, and he just kept going and going and going. And Tom, especially, when we were stacking harmonies up, driving him nuts. But he just kept going and going and going. So it was great. Not a single complaint. Just had his cup of tea to warm up, and then straight into the vocal booth, and off we went.
Brilliant. And I mean, that was one of the things that I took away from your show at Bloodstock was Rob's performance. I just couldn't believe it. I was just stood there like, I mean, how is that even possible? He's so strong live as well.
I know, and to me, I think he's singing better now than he has done for probably 15 years.
Is that anything to do with the back operation?
Fired up about the whole thing, or what? But he's sort of he's just got back into it again. Really, I mean, I think he's in good health. I think he had back problems a few years ago.
Yeah.
And is in good health now and fired up. So, and especially digging some of these older songs up, it's sort of been exciting hearing them, and I think the fans have been into that. So that's what happens when you put 3 fans in the band. We're just in me, Richie, and Scott are in the warm up room, just going through these old songs, and Rob will hear them and go, "Oh yeah, we'll do that tonight." And it's like, shit. Okay.
be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so it's been fun, and it's a good challenge doing that sort of thing. So, and it keeps it interesting as well. When you're doing the same set, night in, night out, and you're 50 gigs in and you're playing the same songs. It's good for us to just vary it up with the odd one or two different tracks. It puts a smile on everyone's face.
Yeah, and I think, and believe it or not, that kind of stuff as well used to sort of just gather a load of PR as well, because all of a sudden you see Priest playing so and so for the first time in like 15 years or something.
Yeah, I know. You can guarantee, you'll do something like Delivering the Goods or, I don't know, Hot Rockin' or something, and straight away people are talking about it. It's the way the internet works now. So yeah, it's a good thing to do, just to give a tour a bit of a nudge, isn't it? Just throw a few unexpected numbers in there, and it gets the fans talking. So, it's good fun.
It's funny listening to you talk, because when we talk about Judas Priest live, you refer to them as they, but when we talk about Judas Priest in the studio, it's we.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm not in the band.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So,
yeah.
It is. I'm helping them out. When I'm in the studio, it is a team in the studio with me, and so.
Hey, come on!
Yeah.
Let's put it absolutely properly, right? In the studio, you're the boss. In the band, you're the T-boy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, all right. No, but I'm. They've asked me to do a job live, which I'm doing. Obviously they've asked me to do a job in the studio, but it's totally different situation. So, yeah, I appreciate where I need to be for each job.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
That's right, and put it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it must have been interesting as well, being out on the road and playing some of those new songs that you played a role in shaping in the first place. Yeah,
it was. And they were actually easy for me, because it's the stuff that Rich has written is actually a little bit more of a riffier style, which is closer to what I'm used to playing anyway. So that's sort of a little bit skipping the strings on the riffs, and it's a little bit thrashier in a way. So I'm kind of used to that. Not that the Priest riffs are particularly difficult, but it's a lot of it's actually got a groove to it that you have to sort of find where to sit with the riff. And because I was so familiar with the stuff on the new album, that wasn't too difficult at all. So not that any of it's been really, really difficult. There's just been so much of it to learn in a short space of time.
Yeah, and well, you're talking to the guy, mate. I remember you learning the Acid Rain set and coming and staying at my house.
Was it 3 days on that?
It was. I think it was 3 days, and Creative Restraint was the song that you really hated.
Yeah.
It was.
Can't remember it. Don't ask me to play it.
I know. Yeah, quick, go get your guitar.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can. Do you know what? That has just sprung into my mind. Like, here we are talking about you. Oh, I only had 3 weeks to learn Priest sets before I went out and saw it. It's like, bloody hell, yeah, it's had 3 days to learn the Acid Rain set.
Yeah.
Mind you, you were able that way to play your local Polytechnic. That must have been a real thrill.
Yeah, that was great, wasn't it? Yeah, Nottingham Polytechnic. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and well, at least we got you in some funny coloured trousers. That's the main thing. I think that's what everyone takes away from
that. Was it, wasn't it? Yeah. Long time. When was that? What year was that?
I think that was 1990.
Was it?
Yeah. 29 fucking years, mate. And was it your 18th where we turned up at your surprise birthday party?
Yeah, my 18th. Yeah.
Yes.
That was a messy night, wasn't it? Yeah.
That was a very messy night. That makes it into my Tales from the Book of Thrash spoken word show that I do.
Right.
So, stories about a certain member of Acid Rain throwing a lawnmower over a hedge, saying, "I'll give you lawnmower death."
Yeah. Yeah. It was a messy one. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the exact word as well. But
that's all I'm going to say.
The punchline to that one shall remain secret for now. So, how long have you been back now? Is it you've been back? You just got back at the weekend?
I've been back a week now. So,
right, okay.
Yeah.
Bored yet?
No. I mean, it's just having a bit of time off. I mean, not that it's that hectic when we're away, but just sort of getting acclimatised to being at home really is kind of nice. So I'm just going to have a couple of weeks off and then pick this Testament record up and get on with that. They've got a few guitar solos and some vocals to do still, I think. So I think they've been out in Europe and just getting back this week. So, give them a week to get everything sorted and then out to me, and then we'll be off on that. So that'll be, that'll probably take 3.5, 4 weeks, something like that, I would have thought. So
are you going to be? So have you got the kind of the guts of it already?
No, not yet, because they might be editing some of the songs, so they were, they were sort of keeping it close to the. I've heard, some of the tracking sounds great, the demos and stuff. So I think it'll be a good one.
Oh, good. Well, as long as they didn't record it the same way they did the last one, then everything will be all right. No, I spoke. No, it's just I remember I spoke to Chuck about how it went, and he was like, "Yeah, man, it was like the worst album I've ever recorded. It was a nightmare, blah blah blah. But it's turned out really good." And I was like, "Well, seeing as how it's turned out really good, would you consider recording like that again?" And he went, "No." And then I spoke to, and then I met Gene when they were touring it, and he was like, "Man, I'm never fucking working like that again." Because I've got to do the Gene voice. It's the fucking law.
Yeah.
Right. Well, look, mate. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to thank you for now, but you need to stay where you are because I've got a load of questions for you from subscribers. Okay.
Right.
So for now, for the main interview, thank you very much, mate.
All right. Thank you.
And there you go. Really good catching up with Andy there. Top man. And as you can hear, we had a really good catch up. And I hate to plug it again, but yes, there is at least that amount of interview again in the Patreon version of the podcast. So if you want to subscribe, patreon.com/Howard H. Smith. Join us for some fun. So what else has been going on? Dave Lee Roth announces that apparently Van Halen never got on. Big surprise there, Dave. You were in a band. Bands don't get on, as a rule. Pretty much, folks. Let me disavow you of the illusion that bands are all mates. No, I mean it's not that we hate each other or anything like that. I mean, I don't hate the guys in Acid Rain. They don't hate me. But you do need time away from each other, and when you're on tour or when you're in a writing process, there's not a lot of that. And that really doesn't fucking help, I gotta be honest. It can be very wearing, very demanding. But hey, that's being in a band, and I've managed to make what Dave Lee Roth said about Van Halen all about me, because that's what I do. And hey, hopefully that's why you love me. So now I've got some fucking chainsaw going over in another garden. So if you hear some chainsaw in the background, it's not me chopping up dead bodies. It is genuinely external noise that I can do nothing about. So my apologies for that. So other than Dave Lee Roth, what else have we got? Fucking hell, Robert Trujillo and Mr. Kirk Hammett. Please stop the fucking noodling. Stop your silly little fucking tributes in each town the two of you do. It's getting embarrassing. It really is. And fuck me, Greg Christian, hey? Ex-Testament bass player. He can't stop fucking moaning, can he? Former Testament bassist is still moaning about how he was kicked out. He was kicked out in 2014, folks. And, I mean, shit happens. Now, you'll hear in another, well, in the other interview coming up very, very soon, you'll hear myself and Joe talking about being in bands and shit like that, and what can go down, as it were. But yeah, it's fucking what? Sorry, just got a fucking email here. Wow, this is really sorry. Normally this wouldn't happen. This has broken through. Bloody hell. Bloody hell. UK tour with 3 thrash bands. I can't announce it because I can't say anything because I don't know when it is getting. I don't know when it's getting announced. On sale. Yeah. Go on sale on Friday 2nd. So this, right, if they go on sale on Friday the 2nd, okay, well look, it's basically, check this out, Testament, Exodus, Death Angel, and it's going to be March next year, and it's Bristol, London, Manchester and Glasgow. Testament, Exodus, Death Angel. So there you go. Wow. Happening live on the podcast. So, where were we? Sorry, yeah, Greg Christian getting booted out of Testament. Fucking hell, how weird is that? How weird is that? Anyway, I hadn't even noticed, had I, that I was talking about him, and then it happened. So anyway, moving on. I've been on the search for new music, and I was getting a good vibe about Fever 333. I was getting a good vibe until the chorus. Yeah, why? I mean, great message, right? Very kind of Rage Against the Machine. They really are clearly big fans of Rage Against the Machine. But a really good message, hard-hitting video, and then the chorus comes in, and it's just lightweight harmonies. Once upon a time, I would have called them gay harmonies, but you're not allowed to do that anymore. But they're too sweet. They're too nice. They're just too goddamn fucking nice. And I find it so fucking irritating. It's like, there's harmonies and there's harmonies. Corey Taylor, wicked at doing, very cool harmonies. But even that went too far as I'm concerned. On All Hope Is Gone. And they were just too commercial. The harmonies were too sweet. And again with Fever 333, who I had a really good vibe for. But I don't know, it just wasn't. Those choruses just really, really put me off, and I just found myself getting really fucking put off by it. Speaking of something that I was not put off by, was the new album by... Oh, God, that sounded better. The new album by... let's not go there, Howard. Those of you who know who that was, let's not go there. Fucking hell, that's completely thrown me. Where was I? Oh, yes. A band that I've mentioned on here before, He Is Legend. I love this band. I really do. They are fucking awesome. They are not normal by any stretch of the imagination. They really are. They've got their own sound, but it's fucking heavy, and they do some really cool shit. The new album is called White Bat. Very weird kind of cover. It is just kind of like a white bat. It just looks like a nude bat. So anyway, that's fucking weird. So yeah, it's weird. It's very weird. And but I'd really, really, really suggest checking it out. There's some awesome heaviness on it. I don't, for fans of, I don't know. They've got an original sound, just give it a listen and then slag me off when it's nowhere near what you like. The other new thing that's come out very recently, new Slipknot single, Solway Firth. Solway Firth. Now, the reason I'm saying it like that is because I'm from Yorkshire, and because Solway Firth is a place in Yorkshire. Now, I have no idea why Slipknot would name a new single Solway. Oh, right, okay. I do apologise. I do apologise, claiming that everything is in Yorkshire. It's a firth that forms part of the border between England and Scotland, between Cumbria and Dumfries and Galloway. stretches from St Bees Head, just south of Whitehaven in Cumbria, to the Mull of Galloway in the west end of Dumfries and Galloway. So my apologies to Galloway, Galloway, all the fucking pronunciations and all the rest of it. But why the fuck would Slipknot name a song Solway Firth? It's just unbelievable. And here is the fine... I mean, not a bad song. I need to play it a few more times, but, it's got the makings of something decent. But I have to fucking say, Corey Taylor's new mask just makes him look like a fat kid. That's it. He just looks like somebody who's just tried to cram a number of tangerines into their cheeks. It looks like a fat kid with a full pouch. It's a cross between a fat kid and a hamster with a full pouch. That's not giving me nightmares, Corey. It looks pretty fucking stupid if you ask me. But there you go. You weren't asking me. On you go. Next up, the new Darkness album. Yeah, who cares? I mean, guys, you came, you saw, you conquered, then you went away, should have stayed away. Apparently it's called Easter is Cancelled. Quite an amusing video for it, but really, the Darkness, anyone bothered? Anyone bothered at all? Anyone bothered? Let me know. Personally, could not give a fuck. But there you go. You knew that already, didn't you? So, next up, it is now time for another cracking interview. This time with a guy I've known for many years. It's Joe McGuigan from the wonderful band Gama Bomb. We have a chat about all sorts here and about how I wasn't able to get to the London gig. And as you will see, we talk about all sorts. There's no agenda. We cover everything. I really enjoyed doing this, and there's another massive interview on the subscribers podcast about Patreon as well. So, which you can't listen to, so I don't know why I mentioned it, but there you go. Maybe it's just to rub your nose in it a little bit. Anyway, here is me and Joe chatting a few days ago. Hello there.
Hey dude, how's it going?
Oh, that's so much better. Bingo indeed. It's going very well. How's things with you?
Yeah, good man. I was over in London a couple of weeks ago to go and see William Friedkin, the guy who directed The Exorcist, and
I know William Friedkin well. The movie Bug is a personal favourite of mine.
Yeah, well, funny enough, it was he was presenting one of his movies from the 80s, To Live and Die in LA.
Yeah.
And they had, the guys who did the sound check, Wang Chung, with her and stuff, so they did a big talk about it. It was pretty cool.
Ah, right, okay. Because I know you were over here another time. We were going to meet up for a beer, but it never happened.
Yeah, I can't remember what that was. Was that Metal Church or something like that? Maybe, was it?
It might have been, actually. It might have been. Yeah, because I might have had to reveal that I wasn't the biggest Metal Church fan in the world. And you weren't impressed.
It's one of those things, isn't it? Like they're just like one of those kind of bands who kind of just got caught up in the shooting match. Like you couldn't really describe them as a thrash band, could you? They're just kind of like, I guess, like Vicious Rumours or one of those kind of styles of bands.
Yeah, I mean, it was like they've had a fair few vocalists as well, and I think originally when it was like the old, ton of Bricks is the song that I always remember, and I remembered lots of people going on about Metal Church when they just had the one album out and when it was difficult to get hold of their album. And I remember one of my friends finally got hold of it, and we were just so disappointed. Because we'd heard other bands talking about them. And
yeah,
we were just expecting
it's like thing as well. Like I think before David Wayne left, Metallica championed them a lot, and that's how they got their deal with Elektra and stuff. Metallica were saying, "Hey, this is awesome," and back then kind of opinions mattered, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, back when opinions mattered, I like that. Yeah, now it's just all opinion.
Yeah, totally. Like Mortal Sin got signed on Xavier Russell's recommendation, I think one of those major labels just rang and said, who should we sign? And they were like, yeah, Onslaught or Mortal Sin or whoever it was,
Well, I'll check the validity of that because I'm in contact with Xavier at the moment because obviously I'm talking to him about doing a few bits and pieces for when our album comes out. So yeah, he's kind of he's a good guy. I've had him on the podcast a couple of times. He's got some great stories.
Yeah.
Great stories.
I'd say so.
Oh, I tell you, it's just it's amazing, fucking amazing. So sorry I missed you the other week. Unfortunately, gigging myself.
Keith Pratt was needed elsewhere in this world, was he?
The Platt signal went up. And
what would it be? Would it be like a pair of slippers and a pipe?
Yeah. And Platt man had to had to make an appearance, but I was gutted though, because it would have been great. I mean, it was a really good band, and I wanted to. It would have been cool to see me see the shrapnel Homs again.
Yeah, all changed for those guys and Divine Chaos. Like, since last time we played with both those bands, because they both supported us on tour in England not that long ago. And they've changed singers and bass players and drummers, like both bands. So it's just the two guitar players, Chris and Greg, and then the two guys from Divine Chaos.
I didn't realise Shrapnel had changed singers at any point.
Yeah, they've got like a bass player singer guy these days who's pretty cool. I think their singer guy has got like some like stuff going on in his life basically, and they were just like, right, we gotta march forward,
Oh fucking hell! I didn't know. Wow.
They said they've been with Sharon on K2 for like 2 years, and they haven't got one gig.
Yeah, well, yeah. There's a story there, and I mean, she's our agent, and I just think I think there was just a real lack of support from the label.
Yeah.
Which I had conversations around the time of when we were shopping around, and it was kind of like anyone but them. Although we managed to get turned down by fucking everyone.
I'll tell you a funny story. Philly was talking to the guy from Nuclear Blast. I can't remember the guy's name again. Anyway,
I know. I know. It was Mark Palmer.
Yeah, exactly. That's the dude. Look.
Yeah.
He was just saying, yeah, I know, I love Harold, and look, I love Acid Rain, but I think I've turned them down in every decade that they've been in existence.
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
but it was quite funny though, because I know for a fact in the space of 3 days, he got an email from Bobby Blitz and he got an email from Danny Filth, both saying you need to release this album.
Brilliant.
I know. It was like, I didn't know Bobby was sending that email at all, and I was actually with Danny. We did a HRH show in Birmingham, and he was like, oh, when's the album coming out? I said, well, we've got to find a label first. And he was like, well, Nuclear Blast, obviously. And I was like, well, yeah, but Mark's not interested. And he was like, fucking what? Right, we'll see about that. And he just opened his phone up. He just opened an email up there, in front of me. I just typed a sort of, how can I describe it? Amusingly offensive email and sent it off.
Well, you know what though, man? It's a funny one. Like, we got turned down by Nuclear Blast as well, and at the time we were kind of like, oh man, because they would be like, they've lots of like firepower and stuff, but at the same time, they've got every other thrash band in the world is on them, and it's like, if you're in the same pond as Testament and Death Angel and stuff, they're going to get all the good shit, and you'll be left in a kind of Laz Rocket style situation where, you're on the label. Kind of the same thing happened to Amulet when they were on Century Media. They said that there was so many other bands that were considered important. So,
well,
they didn't get much of a whack at the wicket.
I get that. I mean, well, funnily enough, we got a friend of mine was trying to help us out, and we got patched into a guy at Century Media, and he was like, oh, thanks for getting in touch. I didn't get in touch. It was this third party, and he said, oh, thanks for getting in touch. Yeah, he said, I'm an Acid Rain fan. He said, Acid Rain, unfortunately, not big enough for us, but I'm a fan since the 80s, and I've seen their comeback and like 2 really great songs, and really like the band. Shame I can't do anything. So I emailed him because I got sent this email, and I emailed him directly and said, "Dude, really nice to thanks for the comments." And he'd heard that we'd got Suzanne Vega on the album doing a cover version of one of her songs, and he was like, he'd mentioned he'd love to hear it, and I said, "Well, I'll ping you one over." And he was like, "Oh, right, yeah, that's great." And then I said, "Do you want to, I said, would you like 3 or 4 more songs?" And he was like, "Yeah, please." And he's like emailing me back going, "Man, this is fucking awesome." He's like, "I'm absolutely loving the new stuff. It's brilliant." He said, it's just a shame we can't do anything." And I was like,
yeah.
How fucking weird is it? It's like, I don't know. It kind of does beg the question when someone says, "Oh, you're not big enough for us to sign." It's like, well, isn't that your job?
Yeah, it's kind of more. Is there kind of name still got like a decent sort of rep at it, like in a much better way than a lot of those European bands like Vendetta or Paradox or Assassin and those things. But
yeah,
I don't know. Like it's a friggin' it's a pain in the hole. Oh, you guys are with the Dissonance label, right?
Yeah.
I'm theoretically supposed to be playing bass on this Agent Steel album at the minute.
Oh, theoretically.
Well, just sort of.
Are you about to give away some state secrets?
No, no, I can't. Like, I can only really talk about things off the record. Really, I can't really talk about things on the record.
Well, I'll tell you what, right? We'll have a chat off the record, but also I've got to warn you now. I've got some subscribers' questions for you as well. So once we've done the main interview, there's quite a few subscribers' questions, I can totally talk about things in general terms, like, so that's not a bother. Look. Cool. Okay, so talk about things. This is really weird. I've got you on, and we've talked about just about every band in the scene, apart from Gama Bomb, and now I'm kind of interested to ask you what's going on with Agent Steel then. Or can't you say anything?
I was just like approached by the guys about December time, and basically the situation was that Cyrus had interest in touring again as the band and making a record and stuff, and he wanted someone to give him a hand writing some songs and putting a demo together, and so that's what we basically did over the course of X amount of months earlier in the year. And then he had like a bunch of shows booked, but like it weren't really booked in a kind of cohesive way. It was like, one show and then 4 days off and then a couple of shows. And he kind of got a pretty crappy band together around him, of like guys who were like big fans of the band, but didn't really have any of the chops to kind of play that sort of stuff. So, long story short, I got sick and had like a flu for a few weeks and I couldn't do the tour. And the tour kind of was a disaster pretty much and got cancelled, and there was a bunch of problems basically. And and after that, he kind of found a couple of decent guitar players and we've just been writing songs and demoing them. And that's kind of where it is with the whole Agent Steel record thing. I've kind of known Juan Garcia from the original Agent Steel for several years, kind of just as a going and having beers with kind of dude. And he's a lovely guy, and he gave us a kind of blessing. He said, "Listen, I'm very busy with Body Count and with his other band, Evil Dead." So he just said, what with Bernie being ill and me not doing it, I wish you guys the best and go and make a good record. So we'll see what happens. Basically, like obviously I'm a big fan myself, and it's just a kind of daunting task trying to come up with a follow up to Unstoppable Force.
Yes. Yeah. That's really cool, man. That's really cool. So
yeah, I am. I'm like literally doing it just from a kind of fan point of view, of being like, oh man, I could definitely help you guys write songs, and you can play bass for some shows if you're going to do shows or whatever. But like I offered the same thing to the Reanimator guys whenever Mark left the band. It was all like, oh man, don't just drop the band name. I'll come over and I'll play bass and we'll write some songs or something. But I think they were just like going to take them time and chill out, or I don't know. I didn't really hear too much back from them about it.
Right, so it's just kind of like, well, when you said theoretically you're doing the bass on the album, so it's basically they've actually got to do an album first.
Yeah, well, like that's the kind of thing, is that there's like a release deadline and the album's being worked on and stuff like that. But there's a couple of guys with Thrash in Europe who are working on it, and I'm kind of over here, so like I can like record bass song tracks and stuff like that, and send songs over. But like it's all done in a very kind of QT sort of secret operations kind of way. So like I kind of don't really have the whole picture myself, to be honest.
Right. Okay. So because we're on the same label, and I've heard nothing so far about Agent Steel.
Obviously the guys in Amulet are big fans as well, and they were like asking me saying, "Well, what's going on? What's going on?" And I was like, I don't really know. Like I know that there's an album in the works, and I have played bass for songs on it. So sooner or later, I guess Dissonance will start like announcing album titles or release dates and stuff, and I'll probably find out at the same time as everyone else.
Yeah, it's looking that way, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is the kind of thing, as I said, doing something like this that's outside of the Gama Bomb thing. I've done a couple of things like this before, like worked with SSS, doing some touring with them, and visceral attack and stuff. Like I like doing things like that are a kind of break away from the band, and the more sort of like Gama Bomb are so kind of long in the tooth now. We've been on the go for 17, nearly 18 years. And, with guys having kids and stuff, there's more opportunities of like 6 months off where you can go and do this sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say that because, well, for a start, I mean, Visceral Attack, I love their it's Quick and Severe is the album I've got.
Yeah, it was good. They were just one of those bands. Me and Domo took a big interest and reproduced their EP, and I did some touring with them and stuff. And then funny enough, they did a tour with us in England a few years ago, and I nearly got them on to supporting Savage Messiah on a UK tour or something. I remember talking to Factory about it, and for some reason they just said no, we're going to uni, we can't tour anymore, and that was the end of the band. But I think they could have probably done pretty okay for themselves.
In fact, I know that they supported you because. Me and you got on stage with them and did backing vocals, Nuclear Assault, Nuclear War.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It was Survive, so it was.
Shit, it was, yeah.
Survive.
Yeah.
But they were a cool band, and it is cool doing things like that. If you find a band that you love, trying to help them out in some way, or get them a little further down the track.
Yeah, I mean, I to be honest, I'd love. That's the kind of thing that I used to do back in the day, but it's like it's just been one constant battle since we came back. I'm still getting there's comments on Instagram today about from people who didn't know we were back.
Yeah, it is. It's insane the amount of work that goes into being in a part-time band like that. Me and Philly were talking about that on the Gama Bomb tour. Talking about. Merch designs and, etc. And we're just like, man, it's so... Because our contract's up with AFM, and we're talking to some different labels about signing with them and stuff, and there was a big lobby within the band saying, we should really just go indie, let's just make the next album ourselves and, own it, and then we won't be in the kind of situation we're in with Eric, in the Spotify records, which is a whole other fucking kettle of fish, But, yeah, we just said, being in a band and writing songs and doing gigs and rehearsing, it seems like that takes up so much time that adding more gunk onto the plate is just like, oh man, really?
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree because ultimately, it's funny, things like, crowdfunding. People are always go, oh, why don't you crowdfund it? And it's like, crowdfunding is basically just that. It's just the funding. All of the mechanics and everything else means basically yeah, okay, great. People have given you money, but now you've basically got to set up a record label, you know, and I don't want a fucking garage full of fucking CDs and LPs.
Exactly, and that's the whole thing, isn't it? You know, the idea of going and posting CDs and stuff just seems like a pain in the ass. And like outside of that, like the whole reason why we were saying no, we're going to go with a label is, you know, we've always, well, for the last 6 or 7 years, we've talked about making like a short Gama Bomb movie, you know, 40-minute kind of film, you know, like a horrible B-movie kind of Mad Max rip-off of some description.
Right.
And we kind of really, you know, we need, what if a budget of like $3,000 or $4,000 will probably, you know, feasible to get a label to give us that, as well as artwork and PR and all the other things that you can't do if you just go totally indie, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, as well, I mean, I'm whether it's old school or not, I just still think it helps having a third party that's in there, you know, swinging for the fences with you, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And it helps if someone's going to say, I'm going to give you guys $1,000 for your album cover because it's important and, you know, we believe in this project. That's what you need, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, well, funnily enough, I mean, this will be out by the time the podcast comes out. But we're just about to announce that the label is having an album release party. So cool. we're doing a smaller venue than usual. We're doing the Boston Music Rooms in Tufnell Park.
Right.
And we're playing a small room, and it's just going to be absolutely rammed, and it's just going to be full on fucking cool, and hopefully, just, you know, a lot of people are going to get a chance to. They'll be the first people to kind of hear the album, because the album's coming out. I don't think I can say yet. No, I can't say yet. But the release show will be 2 weeks after the album comes out. So it's, you know, it's relative. Basically, it's a chance for people to get to hear the songs, you know, live before anyone else.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
But again, that's not the kind of thing that you can. It's that easy to arrange if you've got no label.
Totally. And, you know, sometimes it can just be labels don't think that way, you know. I remember talking to AFM, or like label at the minute, about that lot, saying, you know, we should do a release party, let's do a release show in Berlin or Hamburg or something, and they were just kind of like, huh, you know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But that's it, dude. You know, you kind of just have to sort of choose and pick where you're gonna have your battles with stuff like that, you know.
But also, you guys are pretty popular in Europe, aren't you?
We've been doing pretty okay these days. You know, we did a weekend in Italy there, and yeah, it was okay. Like usually there's like at least 100 people at the shows these days anywhere in Europe. You know, which is pretty good if we're playing in, you know, the kind of middle of nowhere and stuff. And then there was like 200 or 250 at the Underworld. So that's kind of what our general draw is. And then, you know, festivals and stuff's kind of different story, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course you're heading out to Japan with Zentrix, I see.
Yeah, isn't that cool? That was actually funny enough. We'd arranged the gig and the festival and stuff like that, and then we're talking to the guys from Zentrix at the show in Manchester, and just happened to mention it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, what are those people like?" And we were like, "Yeah, definitely give them a shout." And they were like, "Yeah, for sure." And funny enough, the guys in the eval said exactly the same, so maybe they'll get announced as well. I don't know.
Well, in that case, you need to fucking ping over the details to me as well, don't you?
Yeah. You know, it's been something that we've been talking about for years, and like, as insane as it sounds, we had for about 4 years, there was a Japanese Gama Bomb tribute band, so there was like these 14-year-old kids, and their like videos are up on YouTube, and we're like, what the fuck is this? This is so bizarre.
That is
and
awesome.
We were like messaging these promoters in Japan saying, we have a tribute band, can we not come over and play some shows with actual Gama Bomb? And they were like, no, the tribute band's really unpopular, so don't worry about it.
Well, I dare I say it, we were quite big in Japan back in the day, because all of our albums were released in Japan.
Right.
First album was on Sony, and the next two... No, first was on Pony Canyon, and the next two, The Fear and Obnoxious, were on Sony. And I just did a big interview for Burn magazine, which is... I couldn't believe was still going. So yeah, fingers crossed. It'd be great to get out there. I'd love to do it. So yeah, definitely send me the details of the guys that you're speaking with.
Yeah, no, for sure will. And I do mention there was some festival we couldn't do recently. It was Resurrection or something like that. And I did mention the promoters. I said, yeah, Acid Rain are probably free at short notice to do it. Look,
nice one, mate.
It is it's just one of those things, isn't it? You just have to kind of try and help each other out in these sort of scenes.
Well, absolutely, and hopefully, get with a new album, a first for God knows, for 29 years. Hopefully, that's going to, that'll work for us and get us a little bit of attention as well. But anyway, look, let's get off fucking. I really wanted to kind of just find out. Well, as you said about your deals up. Still happy with the most recent album? Because I know it's like it's been out there long enough for you to be for you to have kind of like got pissed off with it by now.
No, I think I think it was pretty good. Definitely a lot better received than Untouchable Glory. Like, we liked Untouchable Glory a lot, and we didn't like the Terror Tapes because the Terror Tapes was difficult to make, and the whole leaving Eric, Luke leaving the band, and Philly getting, his operation on his vocal pipes, all that was around that period.
Yeah.
And it kind of turns out that a lot of fans really like the Terror Tapes and, don't like Untouchable Glory so much, and they like the new album. So, I don't know, there's a thing with Gama Bomb albums where it's kind of like, it's like having an argument about, what your opinion on mid-80s AC/DC albums are better. There's kind of like, all these albums sound pretty similar once you've been doing it for a while,
Well, do you know what? I really liked I really like Untouchable Glory. I think it's a great album.
Well, yeah, it's weird, for us as fans, and we do it primarily as fans of this kind of music. Like, we really like all of our records, and I'm particularly proud of Untouchable Glory and the last one. I think that they've got some of our best tunes on them. But it's such a subjective thing. Like, whenever you get to this phase, I think everyone knows, and you'd probably said the same with Acid Rain, no matter how well the new album is received, people will always sort of look back at your, second and third records as being the ones that people hold close to their hearts,
Yes, yeah. I mean, funnily enough,
and as a fan, you would probably say the same, if you're talking about Zeppelin or any band, pretty much,
Well, I watched Sepultura at oh fucking hell, we played with them at a festival last year, and funnily enough, it's like watching them, and as soon as they start doing as soon as they go into Roots or fucking any of the old stuff, just everyone just starts going mental. And you just think, I'm just stood there thinking, how kind of that's got to piss you off, really. But then you think, well, you know what? It's no different. It's no different for us. We love playing Plan of the Damned, but people are never going to go as nuts for that as they do for Motherly Love or Goddess or something like that. But that's because, and the same with you guys. You've been going a long while now. It's people have memories attached to those songs and those records, and it reminds them of a certain time of their life and all the rest of it. And so it's completely out of your control. You could make the best album ever. It's still to them.
But there's a funny way of looking at it as well, dude. Is whenever I meet young people now who talk about all their amazing memories growing up watching, The Phantom Menace and, Attack of the Clones and stuff. I'm saying, what the fuck are you talking about? It's kind of for every generation, all the kids these days who go to creator shows, love the new creator albums. They, they know the albums from, before Violent Revolution, but creator set is 75% new stuff because that's what their audience likes, so. I think it goes to show in 10 years' time, once the new album's been out, people will be saying, "Yeah, Planet Damned, that was my Acid Rain,"
Yeah, you never know. You never know, and the same for you with like there'll be you'll have people saying, oh, Untouchable Glory was the first album I got of yours. You've never done anything as good as that since, and you're like, oh, fucking. Well, at least someone liked it then.
It's a funny situation we're in, and because of this whole situation, the kind of thing with Earache, it's like our two probably most popular albums, Citizen Brain and Tales from the Grave in Space, aren't available on streaming platforms, and they're also not available, to buy new from Earache,
Right. So they're kind of being airbrushed out of history then.
Well, it's not just us. They've done it in the Browning and Carcass and a couple other bands. So, the thing is, it kind of scares you because you're like, man, that's their property. If they want to throw them in the sea, then that's totally fine. They can do that because they own it. But it's tough for us as band because we're sitting going, well, we know that our hardcore fans. The bizarre thing is, the link for downloading those albums for free that Earache kind of sponsored is still live. So they're deleting the album for streaming, but you can still download it for free with their permission. So it's a kind of bizarre situation. And as I said, you try and tailor the set to have a good representation of everything, but you're saying, man, are we now in a situation where people know those songs better, or they don't know them because they're not online? And it's just a weird one. Yeah,
very weird. Because that's just. Yeah, what's the situation? Well, I presume, as you said, you're just in the same boat as everyone else. It's not specific to you guys. It's just the way it is.
Well, I think it's a specific to anyone that Earache has an issue with,
have you had any communication from them? Do you know?
Not really. We haven't heard much, and we've got lots and lots of fans messaging them, and sending them tweets and stuff like that, and they're just blocking the people who send them, so it's obviously something they don't want to have a conversation about, so what do you do, man? The whole generation of kids who grew up in the last 20 years loving Nuclear Assault, most of the time those albums were not available, they were having to download them or, buy them secondhand on vinyl and stuff, and I think I have no problem with the band spending 10 years with some of the albums being in that situation,
Yeah, it just seemed it's the same old story of bands getting caught in the crossfire, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And there will be some business decision behind it, or some kind of financial situation. That's inevitably what it's always about, But I don't know. I guess at the end of the day, it's just kind of slightly anti-art and anti-artist, deleting something on purpose. But as I said, a third deck of cards, so. If they want to shove them up their ass, they can kind of do it,
I don't know. It's another example of how the music business is just littered with labels just doing fucking weird, stupid shit.
Going crazy. One of the most insane examples was, do you remember that Rising Records thing that they had in England about 10 years ago?
No, I don't.
There was a bunch of bands on them, Sworn Amongst, and maybe about 15 or 20 bands were on this label, Rising Records. And so this guy owned a recording studio, and he just basically said, listen, I'll bring out the album and, blah, blah, but you have to pay me for making the album in the studio, and it's 10 grand. And so that was the deal that these bands were on, and this guy made about 30 albums for these bands and then just disappeared off to the Bahamas.
Well, isn't that nice? It's fucking hell. What is it about the music business? Seriously.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, it just does my head in. It really does. Yeah, it's just bizarre. But is that the touring cycle for the album done yet, or have you got more plans?
Well, so what have we got coming up? Not a huge bunch. We've got Wacken coming up now in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I saw you had that. Have you played Wacken before?
No, we've never played it before, so we're super looking forward to doing that. That'll be cool. And there's a bunch of, now we're in our mid-30s, there's a bunch of I'm in my mid-30 bands that we'd like to go and see who are playing, Sisters of Mercy and The Damned and UFO and all that kind of stuff. So we'll go and do that, and then we're doing a couple of shows in England in November. Face Barmageddon in Reading, and another show with Divine Chaos, I think. And the Japanese shows, and then we'll see what the story is after Christmas. Philly, our singer, has had his second baby, so anytime someone in the band has a baby, we kind of generally take 6 months off. So I'd say we'll probably do that after the Japanese shows, and
well,
most likely start writing. Especially, I think there's a big push to try and see is there any way possible to work on this movie idea for the next album. So I think that could probably take up a bunch of time.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, Philly is about to find out, as the famous quote goes, having one child is like having a dog, having 2 children is like opening a zoo.
So he's up to his neck in nappies and getting on. But yeah, he's getting on brilliantly. Manowar, guitar player, had a baby there last year as well. So it's all maternal instincts in the Gama Bomb camp at the moment.
Right, okay. What about yourself then? What about yourself?
Oh, no. My only baby is my Dawn of the Dead poster collection, which is getting bigger and bigger every year.
So you're the major horror movie fan in the band?
Yeah, I'm the super nerd. I was the guy who just contacted Graham Humphreys and was like, "Oh, I love your art. Please make an album cover for us." But that's where all my disposable income goes into collecting old horror crap.
Yeah, I mean, I know exactly where you're coming from with that. I was fucking absolutely, totally shocked and surprised when Mark Wilkinson agreed to do our cover.
And isn't it a great like just advertisement for if you don't ask, you don't get. Like you're always there. Someone like that who you grew up looking at their images. It's just so cool being like, man, here's my ideas. Presented in his packaging. This is just the best.
Absolutely. And the thing is, I did the same thing happened with Plan of the Damned, and I contacted one of my favourite all-time artists, Laurie Lipton, and I emailed her management and just said, like, would she be up for letting us? It's a digital single. Would she be up for letting us use a piece of her art as a cover? And I got an email back from her directly about 10 minutes later saying, yeah, sure, which pictures you want to use. I was like, oh shit, I hadn't gone that far. I hadn't actually looked at any pictures. So I just thought I'll get the permission first, see if it's worth bothering first. So I went straight to her website and there it was. The picture that she used, the picture that we used was basically the picture that is the homepage of her website, and went straight to it and just went, well, that's fucking perfect. So, and it was all done. It took about half an hour from sending the first email to having it all tied up and done.
Cool. That's what you want, man. And so, have you guys got any touring plans, or what's going on with you guys?
Well, we're gonna do part one before. We're gonna do part one in December, which is. I don't know if it'll. I don't know if I can say on here yet because I don't know if we'll have announced the tour by the time the podcast comes out. But we got 4 dates. One up north, one in Scotland, one in Belfast, and one in Dublin.
Cool.
And then part 2 will be in February 2020.
Nice. Well, I run a guest house, kind of like. Be at motel in between Belfast and Dublin, so you just want to come and stay at my place whenever you're in Ireland, and I'll make you a big barbecue and stuff.
Oh fucking hell, mate! That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing. I think because I think we're going to be the subject of hostels over in Ireland. So
I'll come to my place and I'll light the fire and we'll sit about and talk shit.
Ah, that'd be awesome, man. That'd be fucking brilliant. Oh, I'm really glad I got you on.
There's a couple of quid there.
Well, definitely saving the promoter a few quid, that's for sure. Well, we're doing.
Yeah, so do you know what date this is going out, or are you just?
I know what dates we're playing. So again, off the record, I'll give you the exact dates. We're back at the Voodoo Lounge again.
Awesome.
Hopefully, it'll be slightly better attended this time, because I don't know. I just remember it being, I don't know, sort of half empty. Really, I suppose I should have called it half full.
I think that it's weird. Like bands have cities, don't they? Like we get on really well in London and less well in some other big cities. Or we get on brilliantly in Lisbon and not so great in Madrid or whatever. But I think it's kind of the same with you guys. Like Belfast is, Acid Rain Central and Dublin. I don't know if it's. I think it's just a lot of bands like that. Whenever I saw Zentrix, it was like similarly attended.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because we always used to have a fucking brilliant time in Ireland, and Belfast and Dublin were always. I mean, one of my favourite ever Acid Rain shows was the McGonagall's show we did on the Obnoxious tour, and I remember getting there and meeting the promoter, and the first thing he said was, "I could have sold this out 2 or 3 times over," and we were like, "Really?" And the whole experience was just like being in a proper huge fucking band, as in Kev and I went to a joke shop to go and buy some silly string and shit for the gig, and the guy in the shop goes, are you guys in a band? And we went, yeah, why'd you ask? And he just pointed at the window, and we looked out the window, and there's about 250 kids outside the shop waiting for us.
Class. You guys should have done the same thing that David Gray and the Waterboys did. Both those guys got to a point in their career where they were like, we're really big in Ireland. We're just going to move to Ireland and become an Irish band.
Well, I'd be up for that. I'd be up for moving to any country where Acid Rain was able to earn me a living. But I don't think that country exists. Certainly not on Earth. But,
yeah, so have you thought, are you going to bring any UK bands then around on tour, or what are you thinking lineup-wise?
We haven't done anything on the lineup. We've literally just securing the dates. So between now and when we come over, and when we do the dates, it's going to be a case of looking at support bands. And I don't know, at the moment I haven't got any ideas at all. So.
I think, man, a no-brainer would be you guys in Zentrix. Obviously something like that would be cool. Or are Reanimator still gigging, or
not so much. And the thing is, we've toured with Zentrix before, and we've toured with Reanimator before, and both us and Zentrix have both got new albums out. And I think we kind of both want to do a headline tour,
right?
And I think. It kind of makes sense if you ask me. But I do think that it would make sense for us to join up. Certainly it makes sense for us to join up together and to go through on a European run or something like that.
Yeah, that would be a really, really good idea, man, because I think that, the joint sort of, like, for Hugh's Advantage is, like, very well known in Europe, and, the Fear is quite well known in Europe, so I think it would be a cool bill. We should get you two and get us an Evil, and we'll all just go on a bus. And
man, I mean that is I've had Ol on the show a few times, and yeah, we're definitely up for doing something with Evil further down the line. We've both got a plan, but it's off the record. But we've both got a plan, and it's somewhere down the line there is there is definitely the chance of Acid Rain and Evil doing something together, but I'm not sure at the moment. Look, going back to labels for a second, how have AFM been then? Because obviously you had your ups and downs with Earache. What was your experience like with AFM?
Yeah, pretty dead on. They were quite hands-offish in the sense that they would ask you for demos at a certain stage and not really have anything too intrusive to really say about the demos, and then give you a budget. And then we did 3 albums for them, and one album you would get a better video budget, or one album you would get a kind of shitter one. One album they would license to Japan heavily, or another album they would license to, say, Brazil. And we were always kind of getting lots of offers from that sort of thing, because we own our first album, and we kind of tend to do little licensing deals all around the place for it. And we always got the same thing from Eric and FM, where they were like, you know, if somebody wants to license, you know, the album for Argentina or Mexico, it's going to cost them $5,000. And you're like, Creator costs like $2,000 for a license for, you know, Argentina. So
yeah,
it was kind of hard to get them round to that way of thinking. And again, they're such a traditional metal label. They were like really just sort of concerned with Udo and, you know, bands of that nature, which was their kind of bread and butter. They kind of couldn't understand. They couldn't understand that we didn't want to buy CDs off them, which was something that, you know, we butted heads immediately about. We went out on tour with Artillery, and we knew we had to have lots of vinyl, so we just had to buy the vinyl at the cost that it was. But AFM wanted to charge us £10 per CD to buy for taking on tour. We were like, oh no, that's way too expensive, you know. You're giving them to us for £5, you know, and at least we can sell them for a reasonable amount and make a profit. You know, if we buy them off you for a tenner, we're just effectively going out and selling CDs for you, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they said, well, you know, that's the price, so what are you going to do? And we just said, well, we're just not going to take CDs, and we'll just tell our fans to either stream it or buy the vinyl. And that's kind of what happened. No one ever asks us for CDs anymore.
Yeah, that's a weird one, because CD is definitely something that that we get asked for. But again, we've got a slightly older crowd than you.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, I think you guys definitely have a lot of, you know, dad rock dudes who like lead the kids off, you know, and then blast Acid Rain on the way to work, or, you know, the kids get into it that way.
Yeah.
Whereas I think, yeah, our audience are probably still slightly young for that, you know.
Your fans have not quite started having kids yet, or if or if they have, those kids are too young to be into music yet.
Yeah. Funny, actually, we went out on the beer with BabyMetal after the show in Manchester there the other week, and we're just catching up and talking to them about, you know, a lot of them have got kids and stuff, and just, you know, exactly the same as us, you know, the same typical mid to late 30s kind of life stuff going on, you know. And, you know, we ended up talking quite a lot about Ingram Jr., you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just like so sad, like he had a couple kids as well, and it's just like we were talking about that, saying, you know, it's so funny, we're all in the, you know, very similar situations in life, you know, and like obviously he'd done a lot musically with his life as well, you know.
Well, I had him on the podcast when he left Hell Bastard.
Yeah.
And I the last music project he did, I did a guest appearance on one of the songs, and we were like, you know, pinging it backwards and forwards, and he was really happy with it and all the rest of it. And yeah, about for the benefit of the listeners, we're talking about a guy called Dave Ingram Jr. who, for those of you who remember, was on the podcast when he left Hell Bastard after Scruff decided to start breathing fire at Rebellion at Blackpool Rebellion, and nearly burned the place down without any permission. And unfortunately, he was always suffering with depression, and he took his own life. How long ago was it now?
It must be about 6 or 8 months.
Yeah. And I mean, I know he gets more than one thanks, I think, on our album. It's just really weird.
Yeah. But, you know, it's one of those things, isn't it? Like, you definitely have a duty as, you know, as a band member and stuff to, you know, highlight that sort of stuff and talk about, you know, talk to the people who follow your band. You know, this kind of thing. You can talk to somebody and think that they're really enjoying their life, and, you know, maybe it's the complete opposite. And there's no cure-all answer of how you can get people to open up to you about that sort of thing, you know.
No, and funnily enough, I'm working on a mental health special at the moment that I've got a few interviews already done, and one of them is with Metal NI, which is basically it's a metal charity based in Northern Ireland for people who are into metal. And you know, either have mental health issues themselves, or, you know, are are a bit. Well, basically, they're there to support people, and I know it's run by a woman called Gillian, who lost her son 18 months ago. And funnily enough, the first single from the new album. Well, I won't say what it's about because I don't want to sort of preempt anything. But I ran the artwork that we were going to go with originally past her. I better leave that off then. So
pretty mad, isn't it? The way, sometimes, I'm just sort of going slightly off topic here, but it's funny, things like that happen that people don't really understand, as in making an album. It can be like making a movie. Somebody can go and break their leg. Sometimes, and it happened to you guys, and it happened to us as well. You can make an album and then get the artwork that you've spent a bunch of money on and go, oh, right, shit, this doesn't work. Or, have several of those where you're like, oh my God, this packaging doesn't work. Or, for one reason or another, something will just come out like that. You're like, man, here's another expense going in here. What the hell?
Yeah, very much so. Well, I mean, with using Mark, it was just a case of right, we just left him to it. Just said, look, there's the title, and I sent him one set of lyrics to one of the songs, which is called #NewAgeNarcissist, and he just kind of, I left it with him, and then boom, it arrived. And I was like, right, okay, so that's it then. And that's a really weird kind of way for me to work. Normally it's always been a concept or something like that, but
there's usually you feel like you want to micromanage something like that,
Well, I've always been all over it. I mean, the Moshkinstein was my idea. Got my best mate to bring it to life. The Fear was my idea. Used Evesy again. Obnoxious was Ramsey's idea. The Worst Of was the label's idea.
I think that's lies. I think you're just throwing Ramsey under the bus there, because you're like, man, I can't take that. All free, that could equal a lynching, in some sort of Joker court.
Well, the weird thing is that the label turned down the artwork that we gave them for the album, and then when we told them about that's the label created the cover. We just told them the concept, and they were happy to work on it.
That sounds like typical Music for Nations. Since the last time me and you spoke, that Ian's book about the thrash scene has come out, and it was so typical. Most of all the bands, really great bands like DAM and yourselves, with great albums in the early 90s, just totally thrown under the bus by Under One Flag, And it was just, I think that things the reason why they were let's go for that cover for Obnoxious, because they were this sounds like free PR for us. This sounds like free, attention. That's the best sort,
Well, whatever it was in 2009, Terrorizer, it was voted the worst metal album cover ever. So I'll fucking take that. I'll take a number one in any chart.
I think that goes totally, just tells you what everything's wrong with metal. Full stop. There's so much awful, totally generic, either just horrible photoshopped black metal album covers, or bands playing in warehouse music videos, and there's so much totally generic stuff like that a cover like Obnoxious should be celebrated as being something that's a really cool idea, instead of it being oh my God, this is so crap, and it's crap because it's pink and that's not heavy metal. The amount of homophobia just general in the metal scene, and all you have to do is read blabbermouth comments,
Yeah, I mean it's but then again, like you said, I mean all of the generic stuff that's going on. If I see another video in a fucking quarry, I'm just putting my foot through the telly. Do you know what I mean? It's just
and it's what I think the problem is because you're well, I remember Wasp doing it, and then Sepultura doing it, and Zentrix doing it, and Laz Rocket, and that they all did it, and it was kind of okay-ish, and I don't know, it's just so, you're better doing something cheaply and shitly than doing something that's insanely generic and just boring like that,
Yeah, and I just think, I think we've started getting some abuse because of the album title and because of the cover. We've attracted a load of trolls who seem to think that because of the title and because of the cover that we are having there's a bunch of old men moaning about millennials, which it fucking really isn't. I mean, the concept of selfies and people being entitled has been around for some fucking time now. And it's more basically that we're living in the age of entitlement, where people think that if they don't like something, that then their opinion is law, and whatever it is they don't like should be stopped and should be removed and scrubbed from history. And I see it a lot in the comedy industry as well. People going up to promoters afterwards and saying, oh, I was offended, I found that offensive, and it's like, well, well done, great. Now there's the door. See you later.
It's a very difficult situation, isn't it? Like what we were talking about, even in terms of reviews, or as you said, people. There's a difference between being entitled to having an opinion and wanting to force your opinion onto other people. Like in Northern Ireland, the DUP, who are the ruling party, like block abortions and block same-sex marriage, even though they're a minority. And it's the same in America. Donald Trump was only voted for by, less than 50% of the voters, and half the country didn't vote. So you can say that 3/4 of Americans, didn't vote for him. It's just a fucking stupid old situation, man,
Absolutely. And the whole point about entitlement as well is like an example I'd use is it's basically something that's sort of wormed its way into society more and more, but definitely over the last 10 years. I mean, yourself, the minute you post tour dates, all you get is basically people like, oh, why aren't you playing near me? Or why? And it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, what happened? What happened to? They're playing down the road.
Must be an old guys, but there is definitely a thing where my generation and your generation grew up in a kind of way where it was like, well, of course I'm going to get the bus for 3 hours to go and see Exodus because they're not playing in Harrogate or Newry, so. It's not as if you're going to just sit and be all like, oh man, I so wish I had seen Sepultura last week, but they weren't playing in Hastings, so what am I going to do,
But by the same token, we've got an older fan base, and this is the point I'm making. You can be any age and be guilty of entitled behaviour, because look at our fan base. They're still commenting on there going, oh, fucking hell, oh, you're not playing anywhere near me. And we get people from Liverpool complaining that we're not playing Liverpool when we're playing fucking Manchester. I mean, it's 30 minutes on a train.
Yeah. It'll give you an idea of actually how fucked up the situation is, that if you guys are only doing 2 or 3 shows in England, Scotland and Wales, and then doing 2 shows in Ireland, you should be able to do Liverpool and Manchester,
Oh, look, back in the day, definitely would have done that. Definitely. And I love Liverpool. The times we've played there have been fucking awesome. But we've got, we've got a really good relationship with the Rebellion Club in Manchester. We've had some great nights there. And there's just there's no point in fucking that up. Just like the way there's no point. I mean, it's like last time we played Audio in Glasgow, we sold it out. Why next time we go to Scotland would we play Edinburgh? I mean, it's just like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
But then, funny enough, back in my nuclear assault nerdism and stuff like that, I was looking up a video of them playing. I think you guys were on the tour in Newport in Wales and playing to several thousand people. And Newport is probably somewhere that very few bands nowadays would consider, putting on the list,
Yeah, that was actually that wasn't with us. But Newport Centre was a place that everyone played back in the day. We played Cardiff St David's Hall with Nuclear Assault, which was fucking amazing. I mean, because it's like
how come you guys didn't get John Connolly to do a guest for them on this one?
Well, funnily enough, I can't get him on the podcast. Never mind, get him to guest on the bloody album. But
he doesn't really like doing interviews full stop, really, does he?
No, not really, which is weird, because I was just like, dude, let's just have a chat, man. Because it's like, I saw him at Bloodstock, and I just sat down next to him on a bench, and he sort of turned round, and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and he went, so, are we really going to do this? I was like, yeah. We are. He was like, dude, how are you? We just had a big hug. And it was so weird. Yeah. I hadn't seen him
he's
for...
a lovely dude. I think he's kind of slightly more like in that like James Hetfield type, where he would prefer to just have a conversation with you than, you know, and if it means having to hang about at a bar and talk to like 50 or 60 people, he'll do that rather than have to go and, you know, do interviews and stuff, you know, unless he's kind of coerced into doing it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What was weird was a few years ago we played Eindhoven Metal Meeting, 2015 actually, and we did the show, and we were backstage.
Yeah, we played the Friday. You guys did the Saturday.
Yes, yeah. Well, we were backstage packing up, and I just heard this Howard from like across the room, and looked over. It was Dan Lilker, and I mean, again, I hadn't seen him for like fucking 25 years.
Yeah, he's an intensely nice guy.
Oh, he was awesome. I said to him, "Oh, did you catch our set?" And he was like, "No, I didn't." I was like, "Oh, don't worry, man. It's just great to see you."
He's a lovely dude. And you know what, man? Like, I'm such a huge fan of the original lineup and stuff, but I'm so happy to see them out there playing with Nick Barker because, you know, they're really, really on fire again. Glenn, the like original drummer, was always a few years older than the rest of the dudes. So, you know, I think he found it particularly hard in 2015, whereas now with current drums, they're just playing all the game over stuff at like lightning speed, and it's kick ass. I'd really love to see them just like go full on and tour like hell, like, you know. Yeah.
No, I mean, well, funnily enough, when we toured with one of the tours we did of Europe with them in '89, both Glenn left Nuclear Assault and I left Acid Rain, and so Glenn and I for a couple of shows had our own dressing room. Because, you know, it's just crazy shit, isn't it? You know, these things fucking happen. But yeah,
like there were such a huge like force in terms of like back in the 80s or even early 90s in England until like kind of the Sepultura and Obituary kind of thing arrived in 91. Nuclear Assault were like probably a lot better thought of than a lot of other like bands like this now who are in a way bigger league, especially things like Death Angel. Like Nuclear Assault would have been way bigger than those guys, you know.
Yeah, and with Death Angel being back now and been working so hard, just consistently bringing albums out.
They earned it like hell, man, didn't they?
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? I'm really pleased for them because I think
to be honest with you, I did like Act 3, but I never really liked their 80s records too much, and I think that they've done a couple of ones since they've got back together where they really knocked it out of the park, you know, like specifically, you know, the Art of Dying and the second to last one were great.
Oh, second to last one. Something Calls for Blood.
Yeah, The Dream Calls for Blood. Yeah, it was great.
I love that album. I absolutely love that album. What do you think of the new one?
I haven't actually listened to it yet, man. I'm such an oldie these days. I haven't listened to it. I haven't heard The Last Testament or like I listened to the new Creator or Megadeth or something or Anthrax, but there's some bands where I'm just like I don't have the time that I used to for investing in a new album. You know, like if you listen to something like the new Bob Dylan album, you're gonna have to listen to it 10 times till you can really appreciate it. I find myself with less time to want to do that kind of shit these days with Thrash.
I know what you mean, man. I know what you mean. I'd say what I will do though. I'll ping you our the single because that doesn't come out till the 2nd of August. So I'll ping you a link to that. And but you've got to make time to sit down and listen to it. All right, it's a whole 4 minutes and 10 seconds.
Yes, no, I will. I'll definitely will. Like, it's not to say I don't listen to modern metal music. Like, I really loved the last Sacral Rage album. I thought it was like really, really, really great. Like, you know, and so I think there's cool stuff happening.
Yeah, there is. The weird thing is now that there's so much available and there's so much music coming out and there's so many different places to find out about music that I think it's a full-time job just trying to find out which bands that you like are either about to release something or have released something. It's easy. You know, we've never been able to communicate better than now, but trying to actually find out about, what's going on with certain bands, you just take your eye off the ball and all of a sudden, oh, bloody hell, yeah, they've got a new album out. Really, have they?
Yeah, and it's that kind of thing where you're like, oh man, I can't believe I missed like Big Country last week, or you do have to kind of in some way keep your nose to the ground with bands that you do follow.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, Joe, I've got a bunch of questions from subscribers to ask you, so don't go anywhere. But for now, that is the main interview over. Thank you very much, mate.
You're welcome, buddy. Take it easy.
Was there anything we didn't cover there? A multitude of topics. And it's just really good to catch up with Joe. He always ends up interviewing me as much as I end up interviewing him, which also carries on the Patreon podcast as previously mentioned. So we're winding down here. I mean, I got to say, keeping everything ad free. Hence, starting the Patreon and everything else. Mainly because I don't want to get advertisers on. Listen to Jamie Jaster today selling cock pills, selling stay hard pills. And I just kind of think, really? Is that what you want to be doing? Is it really, though? I mean, yeah, just no thanks. That is not something I want to get into at all. I mean, can you imagine me selling? Actually, I can as well. I'd have a good laugh with it. I really would, like, when you get to my age, maybe, your boner doesn't last as long. Well, now, get these pills, eh? Get these pills and fucking have it. You'll have a rager. You'll have a stalk on for the rest of the fucking day, eh? Take them, go out, do some gardening, eh? You'll be fucking smashing holes into your lawn with your knob. You'll be doing all sorts. Oh, yes. These pills are amazing. Little blue pills, take them, get yourself out there, take 2 or 3, go fucking mental, eh? Have it. Just get out there and fuck stuff. Wood, trees, fucking hedges, fish, get into the local canal, eh? See if Yeah, it's probably just as well I don't do anything like this, isn't it, really? Because I really would just get fucking carried away, which is exactly what I'm doing now. So anyway, yeah, the last thing I wanted to mention was Chris Adler's almost expected / perfunctory, was it a dismissal or leaving, leaving Lamb of God. It just seemed to be a bit sort of like, well, here it is, the whole statement. We're very proud of everything this band has accomplished over the last 2 decades. We would like to thank Chris Adler for his contributions over the years and wish him the best in his future endeavours. That's it. I mean, as a press release, that is just a big fat really. Yeah. Cheers, Chris. Be seeing you later, mate. Off you go. Cheers. And then it's straight into going on about, how they're looking forward to moving forward with their new drummer, and the guy's been working with him. So it's just like, fucking hell, that's it then. So I would love to know if anything more is going to come out of that. But let's wait and see. Let's wait and fucking see. Now, I don't normally do this, but I am. Let's have a look. Deary me. Right. Sorry, I'll put this on pause. Magic of the pause button, otherwise you're going to be here all day. First news story is Testament, Exodus and Death Angel to join forces for Bay Area Strikes Back European Tour. Great. Ghost performs at Heavy Montreal. Go fuck yourselves. Dave Murray says Bruce Dickinson sings Blaze Bailey era songs absolutely amazing. Yep. It comes as no surprise. Good on him. Stained announces a concert. I was really hoping they'd pack up. Never mind. Alex Skolnick says USA has weakest gun laws in the developed world. Well, that's just a fact. it looks like, Anthrax inducted into Hall of Heavy Metal History at Heavy Montreal. That's not really a thing, though, is it? And the other thing I noticed this morning was that Devil Driver had cancelled their European tour. So it looks like we're completely up to date on the news front. So, guys, that's pretty much it. Interviews done, news commented on. I have to say a little bit about the Acid Rain album. The title is The Age of Entitlement. The cover, you may or may not have seen. It's a kind of freaky kind of clown who's taking a selfie of himself. Now, some people have taken this that, it's and basically we ended up with a bunch of trolls from a Facebook page who basically assumed that we were having a pop at millennials. How entitled of them. Because, of course... The ability to, or rather, to become entitled, or rather to act entitled and be guilty of entitled behaviour, you can be any age. For instance, our fan base, very much late 30s, early 40s into the 50s. Entitled behaviour is when people moan about the fact you're not playing their city. And it's like, well, it's not about you, you fucking idiot. Get on, fans full of bands. How many times do I have to say it? But that's an example of entitled behaviour. And also, it's not a bunch of kids doing it, is it? It's people who should know better. Because entitlement is, in my humble opinion, has become a thing within society. It's not aimed at a particular age group. Now, because the guy's taking, because the clown in the picture is taking a selfie, well, who doesn't? Selfies again are not the sole ownership of younger people. So the point is, it is about the age of entitlement. We have the age of enlightenment, wonderful. Well, now I kind of feel like within the age of entitlement, where everybody's basically moaning about what they want, what's best for them, but more so, not that I would like this, that I demand it, that I should be having that. For instance, especially getting in comedy a lot as well, people with their opinions, you're entitled to your opinion, but people think that their opinion is therefore somehow fact or law and things should change because of it. And they're entitled to action being taken because they are offended. So it is generally... Now, there is a song also on the album called New Age Narcissist. There's a hashtag of it that appears in the background of the artwork. And when you hear the lyrics to that song, it's basically about pricks on social media. It's not about a generation. It's about fucking dickheads. You'll read it and you'll be able to yeah, that's a fucking dickhead. These are people I do not associate with. So that's the whole thing that was going on around that. I just felt like I needed to get that off my chest. But yeah, so we had a load of people turn up from another Facebook page and calling us, the insult was boomers. Now that's meant to mean that we're part of the baby boomer generation. It's supposed to be an insult. It's not, because I'm not. We're not that old that we're part of the baby boom generation. But I just treated them with kindness when they popped by, because trolls is not something that has been a thing with Acid Rain. So it's, trolls are welcome here, as I said to them, and that seemed to get rid of them. Anyway, look, folks, end of the podcast. Everybody's podcast goes yada, yada, yada. I couldn't do it without you. Oh, you're so wonderful. Oh, you're great. And thanks for supporting the podcast. Yeah, and do you know what? That's what they all do. I'm kind of not going to do that. I appreciate you. If you've listened this far in, you're obviously enjoying it. You know the score. Spread the word. You are my best weapon out there for spreading the word about Talking Bollocks, for getting it in more places. And basically, the more you do, the more I do, the more we can all do together. Wouldn't that be wonderful? So thank you from the very bottom of my bollocks for listening. Wherever you're listening, whether it's on the way to work, whether it's at gym, whether it's out walking the dog, whether it's on the way into town for a gig, whether you're just chilling out, whatever you're doing, wherever you are, thank you very much. Always a pleasure. Never a chore. Speak next month. Bye.